Scott, today, quite frankly, the streets of Cairo looked like a war zone, and if anything, security is clamping down even tighter tonight around the city. The main protest camp outside the Rabaa al-Adawiya Mosque was the scene of the worst carnage. The makeshift field hospital quickly filled up, and severely wounded protesters were carried upstairs to new rooms as volunteers tried to give what little emergency care they could. In other parts of the building, the bodies piled up as protesters struggled to keep up with the task of giving names to the dead. Most of the wounds our CBS team saw were gunshots to the head and chest. That's consistent with reports of police sniper fire pouring into the camp. At the peak of the battle, the sound of automatic weapons fire was deafening. This man is shouting at the protesters to stand their ground, and for hours today they did, despite the brutality of the crackdown.
This is what they do to civil protesters!
For the most part, the protesters tried to fight back against the overwhelming assault by throwing stones at the security forces. But tonight, Egyptian TV, which supports the military-led government, is broadcasting video that it claims shows automatic weapons being fired from inside the camp. It's true the violence isn't one-sided. These pictures show a police vehicle being pushed off a bridge. 4 policemen were killed. Tonight, the wreckage of the camp is in flames, and the interim government is claiming that it's arrested the top leadership of the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, the Muslim Brotherhood are insisting that their leaders have not been arrested. I guess the question tonight is whether they go to ground like they did before. But we passed that mosque, the scene of all that violence tonight. We saw lots of people, pro-government supporters, holding sticks and machetes, making sure that those protesters don't return.
The Muslim Brotherhood being the political party of the ousted president. Charlie, thanks very much. Among the dead tonight are at least 3 journalists. Mick Dean was a cameraman for Britain's Sky News for 15 years. He was 61. Dean was shot today. He often risked his life to cover the news, and people in our newsroom who knew Dean said that he was a good man to be with when things got rough. Also shot and killed was Habiba Ahmed Abdelaziz. She was 26 and reported for a weekly newspaper in Dubai. Egyptian journalist Ahmed Abdel Gawad lost his life today as well. One of the reporters in harm's way was Alex Ortiz, a CBS News producer who's been covering Egypt more than 3 years. He was in the middle of it today, and he joins us now. Alex, what did you see?
Hi, Scott. Well, when we arrived at the field hospital, the scene was madness. There were snipers positioned on the only functioning entrance and exit that was accessible to protesters trying to either get into or out of the camp. The hospital came under siege. As people were trying to exit it, snipers would fire at them, so you had to run and duck for cover to dive into the hospital. When we got there, the floors and the walls were slick with blood. It was an utter madness, with all floors of the hospital being full of bodies of the dead and wounded.
It appears that the Egyptian government is doing whatever it can to keep all of this quiet, trying to keep foreign reporters from reporting what they have seen. What has the situation been for reporters trying to cover this?
Well, journalists have come under fire from both sides, both pro and anti-Morsi sides, but the government in particular is taking a strong tack against specifically independent media reporting the story. There's been constantly blaming international outlets for getting the story wrong and for spreading lies and rumors.
Alex Ortiz, CBS News producer in Cairo for us. Thank you, Alex. Clarissa Ward is our most experienced Egypt reporter. She happens to be in our London bureau tonight. Clarissa, what is this? Is it headed to civil war?
Well, Scott, I think it's important to remember that the military and the government it installed have huge public support in Egypt at the moment. Many people actually approve of the actions of security forces today. One Egyptian woman said to me, if you have a bleeding, wounded leg, you have to amputate it. That may sound shocking to us, but it is a common attitude there. At the same time, even if the Muslim Brotherhood were only supported by 10% of the country, that's still 9 million people. The government must know it can't kill its way out of this be serious reconciliation, and it's hard to see that happening now. So I think we need to be careful about using terms like civil war, but certainly these are dark, dark days for Egypt.
Reconciliation is what the U.S. government is calling for tonight. Clarissa, thank you. At his court-martial today,